Hey, I want to talk to you for a moment about my journey with depression. My wife and I served as pastors on staff at a church in Frisco for 7 or 8 years, and we felt the call maybe to plant a church in Dallas. We love Dallas, love the city. And so we were planning to plant this church, and one of the things you got to do when you plant a church is raise money. And so I remember we were at a church planters boot camp in Birmingham, Alabama, and a pastor called me and said, "Hey, our church wants to give you $50,000 for your church." Now, you're supposed to be like ecstatic about that. I didn't feel anything. And I didn't tell my wife, but in that moment, I knew something is wrong with me because that had happened several times in the weeks leading up to that boot camp. So fast forward a few weeks later, I'm at my house. It's my birthday. I wake up. Another thing you're supposed to be excited about, my birthday, February 14th. I wake up. I felt nothing. I didn't want to get out of my bed. This just cloud, this shadow just kind of covered my house. And I remember I sat in my bed all day and I watched The Office. I binged The Office on my birthday, again, which is something that's supposed to make you laugh, right? I don't think I laughed one time. So I remember the next day, I go to work, I'm trying to type an email, I can't spell. I walk into a room, I don't remember why I'm there. I felt nothing the whole day. I get home that night, I'm putting my kids to bed, my wife's going to bed. My son wakes up, he's crying, I go in there to console him. I start weeping uncontrollably. She has to come in and take him. I go into the closet and have a full-on panic attack. It's not that I didn't want to not live. I just didn't want to live like that. So I went to my doctor. Sure enough, hey, you're going through a major depression, Josh. You need medication. You need counseling. You need a psychiatrist. You need to talk to people. I'm Mr. Self-reliant, that talk to people thing and that working it out with others and you need help. Gosh, that was so hard. It was hard because of how I'm wired, but it was also hard because of who I am. Christians aren't supposed to battle this, right? Especially pastors. But I told my story in our church in Frisco. My pastor interviewed me on stage. And I can't tell you how many people, person after person, would come up to me in the lobby. That's my story too, Josh. Some were in the middle of it, some were on the other side of it. I would talk to pastors, other pastors. Hey, Josh, that's my story too. Here's how I got through it. Here's what's happening right now. And so maybe that's your story. Maybe you're in the midst of a season of life where you say, I don't care if it's good or bad. I feel nothing. There is this giant hole that I am falling into and there is no way out. Maybe that's someone you love, someone you know, someone close, someone in your home. But I would tell you now, 4 years on the other side of walking through a year-long deep depression, is that there is hope. And maybe you don't see it for yourself or for your family member. There is a God who is faithful. There is help in medication and counseling and therapy. There is help in solidarity and talking to others and sharing your story. It is not an overnight thing. Again, my journey was 12 months and I still 4 years later take medication and have to walk through this with my wife and a counselor and other Christ followers. But there is hope.